life isn't always okay. And so there's things that are just really hard. And sometimes we relate the two instead of in the midst of this storm, I am still going to be okay, even though this isn't okay. I've come to give you praise. Yeah. You shower your blessing, shower your favor on me. My heart is full of thanks, 'cause I will never.
Zach, just give me a little thumbs up when we're ready to go. Let me get a thumbs up from my DJ real quick. Have you ever had a therapy session with a DJ?
Nope. Could be a new thing.
It could be a new thing.
It could be a new thing. I had to think about that for a second. Yeah, no.
I like that.
It's a huge privilege to be here with you guys. Same. I'm with two rock stars in the therapy world.
Yep.
Katrina and Lauren, both mental health professionals, working with everyone from little kids to teens, people in their adolescence, young adults. I have to tell you that I was when I was leaving the house, I was like, I'm going to a professional setting. I should iron my shirt.
We're not that professional.
Well, I tried.
Yeah.
I did. I started ironing my shirt.
Nice.
Yeah.
But as I was ironing, I was like, I think I'm just ironing in the wrinkles.
Yeah, like you're not like providing space for it to like be smoothed out.
I'm not doing it the right way.
Yeah.
Because I would
what you're talking about though.
Yeah, it would be smooth, Lauren, but then as I was smoothing one area, it was
creasing.
Creasing another area.
Yeah.
But it's black,
Yeah.
You can't I would not have said that right away. Like your shirt looks creased. It looks smooth.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Originally, I was only going to be able to talk to you because I hadn't even met and I didn't know how awesome Lauren was. But I was like, Katrina, let's have this conversation about teen mental health. And you're like, we have to bring in Lauren because you said she's way cooler than me.
Oh my gosh. We have this conversation. She is way cooler.
I tell you all the time, like, you have to believe me, you're cool.
What was it? What was it specifically where you're like, you know what? No, Lauren needs to be part of this conversation too. She's literally so cool.
Because
what is it that you look up to about Lauren?
Every time she talks, it makes me feel comfortable and like it's just so peaceful. Makes me feel good.
Yeah.
Yeah. She just has really positive things to say. And so that's why you're here. And I was nervous to do it on my own. So
it's nice to just kind of have like a wing person.
Yeah.
Always.
It is. Yeah.
You guys met Jeremiah. This is my wing person here. All right. So you don't always have the audio guy in the shots, but we were in the car on the way over today, and I was like, Jeremiah, get in the shot, man.
It's your big day.
He's already prepared their environment, I feel like.
Yeah,
with the songs and
so why not have him in the shot with us, and he's running all this stuff when we travel. So when we travel around to schools with the Lionheart crew, we have a saying, and it's, I love you, dog. I love you, dog. We just say that to each other all the time.
It took me a minute to figure out what you were
saying. Well, it's Detroit, so
yeah.
The cool sayings, you can use this for your own library of sayings. Okay. Since you are the cool
I'll add it. Put it on my tab.
You have to take the coolest sentences and just turn them into one, expression of breath. Yes. I love you, dog.
Done.
Mm-hmm.
We'll spread it.
I don't know if I should
real
try
quick.
it right now.
Yeah, I love you, dog. That's how in the Lionheart crew we'll just always put our hands on each other's shoulders, like, I love you, dog.
Does everyone respond well to that?
Yeah.
I would say so.
We're kind of a in terms of like our physicality as a group, like we're very like physically affectionate with each other, like lots of hand on the shoulder, a hug, oxytocin.
Jeremiah? It looks like you are. It's Jeremiah.
Oh,
sometimes.
Yeah. Jeremiah knows that I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Like we got to get that oxytocin going somehow.
That's right.
So you're both therapists.
Yes.
When were you like, I am sold on therapy? Not specifically just like people in general, but when were you sold on wanting to do therapy for children or teens, like the developing mind?
You know, when I started, I was in my 20s, and every time a parent, and this was like 15 years ago when therapy was not what it is now. So
It's cooler now.
it's trendy.
It's trendy.
Which we can talk about for sure. But I remember being young, and so the parents found out, oh my gosh, there's a therapist that's not over the age of 60. We love her. And so because I was kind of young in the field, I think just by default, more families kept on talking about, hey, there's this therapist and she seems relatable, you know, and that's kind of how I built that part of my career. But I prefer it also. Like, I prefer working with the kids.
I can remember being in grad school and doing my internship at a college. I just remember being like, I needed a Lauren at this stage of my life that could really come alongside me and tell me that, you know, it's going to be okay, but also what are some tools to get through this period of life, which is like a lot of just like ups and downs where you just don't know if you're going to be okay. So I think after that, I just felt like there was this pull and there was a draw, I think, for them too, and for me, that felt a connection where it was just like, this is a good fit. So I think since then, and that was about like 14 years ago, I think since then I was like, I think this is my niche.
And have you found that it's stayed the same? Like, do people just overall just need to be told it's going to be okay?
I think like that they're okay. You know, it's different. Like circumstantially, and this gets into like teen stuff and young adult stuff, but you know, life isn't always okay. And so there's things that are just really hard. And sometimes we relate the two instead of in the midst of this storm, I am still going to be okay, even though this isn't okay. And we all need like that stable force to be like, I see you. I want to know you. I want to understand. And so I think that's the difference. And it's hard, I think, for teens to differentiate that.
One of the things that I learned in my time in therapy was this phrase that I would say to myself when I was distressed or in physical pain. So my therapist taught me to say and reflect on the phrase, I'm okay. My body is uncomfortable.
That's great.
Love that.
Isn't that good?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Jeremiah uses that. Jeremiah is he's one of those crazy people that like is in the sauna for 40 minutes and then
Infrared?
No,
Okay.
no,
Okay.
yeah, he like
Just
you know
had to
just
check in on that.
and then he'll go in a like ice pool.
Oh my gosh.
For how long? What's your longest time you're in there?
7 minutes.
7 minutes, man.
Wow.
But even he says that you use that sometimes, right? You'll be like, I'm okay. My body's
Yeah.
uncomfortable.
Literally.
Yeah. You mentioned this just a second ago. You were like therapy is kind of trendy. When did therapy become trendy, and why did you say that?
Yeah. Because I remember when I first started in private practice, in my own practice, I would even have clients ask, the entrance to your location, is it private? Like, is it not on a main road? Is it around other businesses? Because it was so, I wouldn't say shaming, but it was just something that they kept on the down low. Like, if you really did need to go get therapy, you weren't sharing that with anyone in your family. And, when we used phones a lot to leave messages, we always asked them, can we leave a message? About anything related to your appointment. So it was just very quiet and protected, and I can't speak for the clients, but I feel like it was just a little embarrassment. And then
you said even like the physical location,
yes,
would be like hidden.
Please don't
around the corner.
I don't want anyone to see me coming in. And then something happened, and I think it was probably right before COVID. That's just my time frame, where I remember clients would come in and I would see them take pictures of themselves in the waiting room, like a selfie, and they would show me, and it would be like #therapy day, like it was very cool. They would love to share with their friends who's their therapist. She's the best. You have to go to her. It was like a social club. I don't know. Maybe that's an exaggeration. It's so different. And I would use the word trendy because I do feel like sometimes I can hear in the tone of like the teens' voice, they're like, just the way that they say things. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like,
do you hear
cool
pride
for you? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But not like in a, like I am so proud of myself. More like, I don't know. I'm taking care of my mental health because that's the thing to do right now.
Yeah.
I'm cool.
What about you, Lauren? Do you see that too? Would trendy be the word for you when you describe therapy right now?
I would say it's something that is like sought out, and it would be more from the youth and from like teens and all that, because you see a lot of actors and singers talking about it. Like I can think of a handful of like, famous people that are like #mental health. I go to a therapist and it's helped my life so much.
Because I started to have a relationship with myself. And I think that's the best part.
You say you now live with bipolar and you don't suffer from it as much anymore. How did you go about learning how to live with bipolar as opposed to suffering from it?
Well, I do the necessary things, I see a therapist.
And so I think that people are getting on this bandwagon because they see the results of it. And so then obviously for our young teens, they really are affected by media as well. And so they say like, okay, well, Selena Gomez goes to counseling all the time and talks about it. And she does. And she talks about mental health. And so maybe that's true for like, I can go and it be something that is good for me too. So,
yeah.
Is there a downside to therapy being trendy?
There has to be.
There has to be. I think coming into, I don't think we always recognize how much work it is to go to therapy. Mm-hmm. When you come in, you don't always want, and I have a lot of my teens say like, I didn't want to come today, but I did,
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm glad you did. Mm-hmm. What changed your like mind, or like what was the reason? And it's like, I knew that I wanted to not feel this way or have greater clarity on this, but it's not always fun. Because one thing I feel like, and maybe you can attest this too, Katrina, is, when we're talking about heart stuff, a lot of my teens will be like, I don't feel good and I just don't know why. Or there's something going on and I just have really bad anxiety and I panic a lot. But there's like this lack of ability, I think, to really explore and really take time to survey their internal world and emotional world, and find out like the root causes of things.
I try to take what's going on and turn it into something beautiful in the best way that I can.
She'd launched the multimedia company Wondermind.
And so I see that pattern happen. And so then when we do that in here, it's like, oh, okay, like I'm starting to see or have an awareness for something I didn't before, which could feel scary. And sometimes I don't want to address that.
Yeah.
What do you think, Katrina? Is there a downside to the trendiness of therapy?
Sometimes I feel like it takes away a little bit of the value of it, just a little bit. I mean, nothing bad ever comes, in my opinion, from going to therapy, whether you take it really seriously or you're doing it just because you kind of want to check that box off. So I feel like the downside is, now that I'm listening to you, I think it's that they come in sort of thinking it's going to be the scene out of a movie, you know, laying down on a couch or.
But you said they don't usually lay down. No one lays down.
No one does. But I think they come in with a different expectation. This is so cool. I'm doing therapy. Like, I'm like Selena Gomez. And then, but the good thing about it is, like, it brings people in. And then once they start the process, usually really good things come out of it. I think maybe it's more of a me issue, because I feel like you're like using me to check a box off your list and be cool, but I really value what I'm doing, you know? So maybe it's my issue too.
That makes sense. It's like you don't want to feel like people are using you as a backdrop to like get a like or a share or something like that. Like, I'm in therapy, you're like, no, this is actually really valuable.
Yeah.
We have a parenting alert now. The U.S. Surgeon General has issued a new advisory on a growing youth mental health crisis, warning that depression and anxiety in young people have doubled worldwide during the pandemic. Let's talk about that with emergency physician Dr. Darian Sutton. Dr. Sutton, thanks for joining us again this morning. Break down what we see in this report.
Well, good morning, George. These are some incredibly concerning trends.
In the news, there will be, I mean, there's got to be a story every day about the alarming rates of anxiety and depression in young people, you know, but that's just a news story. That's just a statistic that's out there on a screen that people are you know, seeing at Planet Fitness or whatever. Like, it's out there, but this is the ground floor. This is the front line here. Is it accurate? Like, is this an epidemic? Is it an epidemic for teens? Like, are our teens having as hard of a time as I would receive from the news?
Yeah, I mean, I think that anxiety and depression has been here for a long time. I would even say like 10 years ago, the amount I've been seeing, I mean, it's the same but different. You know, it's evolved. It still is depression and anxiety. It just looks different now. It's like in a different form. And so, you know, with anxiety and depression now, it looks different with social media. They're searching for someone else to say, am I okay? And searching within like TikTok and media to be like, let me find what your identity is and I'll try to apply it to myself.
Oh, that's so good.
Which never works.
Yeah.
And so, like, within that, it's like, okay, this is not fitting, and I don't know why. Instead of, like, this is who I am, and I'm going with that. And so then there's distress there for sure, and anxiety, because they're trying to fit into a mold that doesn't fit. Anxiety really is not knowing a lot of times what we feel. It just exists. It's like, I'm anxious, but what is the root of it? And that's what anxiety is. It's like we can't get to the root of what it is. It just feels, right? And so part of it is understanding what's underneath that. What is the feeling underneath it?
It's really, really, really difficult not to experience anxiety and worry. We're just living in a world right now where it's just not set up for kids, you know, to be able to escape those types of feelings. Like, there's just extra challenges that are really specifically affecting young people. You know, and there was lots of anxiety and depression, you know, in long time ago. Like, it's always been there. I think there's just a prevalence of symptoms and a lot more external things that make it so difficult to really be able to cope with.
Also, ER visits for suspected attempts of self-harm have increased by over 50% among girls. So this is an incredibly important and needed discussion to have.
I think social media is something that people will point to often and just be like, oh, you know, kids are anxious and kids are depressed because of social media. But I think that's easy for just like the common person to say, like, it's social media. When you hear that specifically, what do you hear? Like, what are the layers underneath that when you're sitting with a young person and you're kind of dissecting like their interaction with social media? What do you see the most?
I see a form of addiction, in a way that their brain is being stimulated, that it shouldn't be at that age, and then they go back for more and more, and then you get stuck in a cycle. And I see also very strongly, and I don't think people talk about this enough, it's a place where people are trying to find where they belong. And once they find that, whether it's good, bad, or ugly, through their phones and social media, that's kind of becomes their identity, and it's not always authentic and it's not always great. So social media is a great thing to say, like, oh, social media is horrible. And we could get into, social media, but as a whole, I think there's that, but underneath it is just the effect that it has on these young people's brains. It's like, giving your toddler a bowl full of candy and saying, I think you're ready. I know you won't have any of this. I'm going to leave the room. Like, you're setting them up for failure. They're just not ready for it. So I think it's very, it looks like an addiction from my clinical perspective oftentimes, and then it's just a place where they're trying to find where they can belong.
When we're in schools, our second assembly is called Belonging. And I open it with this story of my daughter, Selah, when she's 3. And I told her it's time to go to bed or it's time to take a bath or something like that. And she said, Dad, you're not my friend anymore. She didn't want to do it, But with that story, it is just a perfect illustration of, like, before she's even taught how to leverage power in her life, she knows that the only real power she has is to either give a sense of belonging or take it away. You know what I mean? Like, at school, you're not my friend anymore. Like, that's like all you can do. Like, I have no other power over you. I'm 3 years old. The only thing I could do is take away my friendship or my connection. Like, you're not my friend anymore. Or we'll be driving on the highway, and I look up, in the Marines have a billboard. It's like guys with guns and mud and helicopters, and it says, find a sense of belonging in the Marines. And so, like, the Marines are using belonging to try and bring you in. And then Jeremiah and I don't know if you can tell, but we work out a lot. But we'll be at Planet Fitness, and bigger than the logo on the wall is "You Belong Here." So everyone is trying to use it. That's just kind of what I've found. So it's interesting that you bring that up with social media, that you're like, okay, so it's not necessarily social media, but there is an issue with young people trying to find a place to belong.
And trying to find their identity.
When we were riding here today, Jeremiah brought up a phrase. I was gonna say it and just have you guys. I'm gonna put it out there, and I just want you to say the first thing that comes to your head. Okay.
Okay.
Here's the phrase. It's a pretty common phrase, right? Ish. Jeremiah was homeschooled, so what's common, right? This was it. He said, hard times create strong people create good times create weak people create hard times. In my head, I just told you to respond. I'm like, actually, I'm going to respond to that.
Go for it.
Go ahead.
No, 'cause I just, I think to myself, like, there's more to life than just strong and weak people. Like, there's not just two categories, and, because that's one of the things that I struggle with personally is, what is that? Extreme thinking. Yeah, I struggle with extreme thinking. Like, there's only winners and losers. You're either doing well or you're doing bad. You're in or you're out. Or in this case, you're strong or you're weak. And if you're strong, you create good times. And if you're weak, you create bad times.
We have a different lens when we think of strength and weakness from our perspective, obviously professionally, because when I think of strength, I think of tears. I think of like being able to have vulnerability, being able to like really show up as you are. Like that to me is strength. Obviously different definition of what we normally see and we like know in the world. And so that aspect is what we are trying to really share with the world and like reteach or re-show as therapists is like what true strength is. And weakness, you know, like if I really thought about it, it's like it's actually trying to show up and be someone else. I really like the definition of vulnerability that Brene Brown says, which is like, it's, you know, being able to show up and be seen is true vulnerability. And so, yeah, I think like if we looked at it in the world, it's like, you know, suck it up, be strong.
That's what goes to my head. Is that what goes to your head? Be in terms of being strong?
No. Because I'm on.
Thanks for your commentary,
Okay.
Jeremiah.
I'm on Lauren. I'm on your mindset of we have to redefine what strength is.
Yeah.
Strength is being vulnerable.
Yeah.
Just that the same idea of what is like true love is actually discipline. It's not just letting people do what they want. So yeah, I can vibe with that.
Okay.
I thought you were gonna say I'm on Lauren's side. And I'm like, wait, we're not on different sides here, Jeremiah.
No, but I think that's a great point because that's very relatable to people, like what strength and weakness is like for the world. Like it's what the population would say. They'd be like, yeah, this is what strength is and this is what weakness is. And how do I make that work? And so I think redefining it is important.
For like one of your young people, what would be an attribute that they have that you would call strength that maybe their peers don't recognize it as strength? But you've seen it develop inside of them, like that is strength.
I mean, so many, but just recently, I was working with someone and they, similar to you, if they've had something that happened in their day early on and it was bad, it's been a bad day. And this person had started to grow and was able to stop, let that be bad, regroup, and start fresh for the next segment of the day and do something wonderful, whatever that means for them, just handling a concept and like continuing to stop, kind of pull yourself back up and try again. And I just was really moved in that moment. Like, do you see you are a superhero right now? That's just how life is, but it's not all good. It's not all bad. Like, I don't even know what that means. It's different for everyone. But that is something that really, I feel like is a gift that is not pushed right now with kids. Like, it's bad. Like, cry, be sad. The day's over, get into bed. And that's fine in certain cases. But I don't know, lately just seeing people stop and not give up for the day, I just think that's amazing.
I struggle with that. Sometimes I'll drop off my kids at school and it was a really tough morning, and I think to myself, I'm done.
It's a bad day.
I'm done for the day. Like, I'm completely depleted. But then I think if I'm going to be a strong, emotionally healthy human being, I need to find a way to not be depleted from a single event in a day.
Yeah. Yeah. The goal, sometimes people come in saying, I just want to be happy. And I would love one day to dissect that and be like, is that really the goal? Is the goal to be happy? Oh, he's taking it over.
The reason that I brought up that quote was because I really wanted to hear your takes on the role that adversity has in depression, anxiety, feeling like we are stuck or we don't know. Because I think that there's a healthy stance where overcoming adversity will probably bring a lot of people out of depression, anxiety, because they've been through and now they know they have that strength. And then maybe a lot of people who are feeling intense levels of said depression, anxiety, don't have a lot of adversity that they're going through. So they're kind of just a stagnant human, and there's no role, no purpose.
Yeah.
So.
Are you looking for a job? Would you like to be a therapist? Okay.
Wait a minute.
I think you'd be a great fit.
Totally.
I don't see struggle necessarily as a bad thing.
Yes. I think it's different too. I know someone brought up one time, like this generation is like the puddle culture, where it's like something happens and they just turn into a puddle.
Puddle culture.
Yeah. Of just like the perseverance part of it. And like, I don't know. I mean, I think there's a lot of parts to us in every generation, pros and cons and stuff. But like what you're saying of being able to see the data sometimes, that like, if I get through this, then I could do it again, or there's data to show that I've done something hard and I can persevere through this current situation. And I think that part is sometimes lacking in terms of like that identity of like, I can do hard things.
I had this moment the other day. I like to watch like a show before bed, and I was watching Outer Banks. You seen Outer Banks?
I haven't.
You haven't?
Neither have I.
Guys,
I know.
All my clients
I know,
you
they
have
always
holes in
talk
your
about
jeans. You have to be cool. You have to watch Outer Banks.
You don't even trust me. Why should I trust you? All you do is lie to me.
When have I lied to you?
Kiara, stop it. Everything you're doing is for these boys.
It's about the boys.
It is.
I guarantee a lot of the young people that you work with have watched Outer Banks.
Yes.
I like the show. It's got, like good guys and bad guys and treasure, and there's complexities. But one of the things that I noticed in the group of young people, so they kind of portray like a 19, 20-year-old group of young people in Outer Banks, is that none of them in the show there were no good relationships with parents. Like every single relationship that they're showing on the screen is a like adversarial, tense, misunderstood, don't like each other, will never be able to see eye to eye. And there's no resolve until like the last scene of the last show of the last season. And I was thinking in my head, like, even though I love the show because it has everything that I really enjoy about a show, but I was like, ooh, like not one portrayal of a healthy connection. I was like, in my head, I was just thinking like, that's not good. There's got to be some representation of a healthy relationship out here too, not just celebrating independence and dysfunction. It's possible to be a teen and have a good relationship with your parent.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because some of the young people that I work with, I'm like, they're probably watching that and feeling affirmed in maybe a dysfunctional, challenging relationship with their parent. Like, oh, I'm just a teen. It's just supposed to be this way. It's everything that I see on TV. How about you guys? What's something that you've seen it and you're like, I'm just gonna say that's bad. That's bad.
Like in like media or pop culture?
Pop culture, or just in terms of your work with young people, like that is creating the problem that we have to undo in my office.
What came to mind for me was just like this idea of, and I have it, like, I don't think it's all, maybe it's just not all bad, but like when I think of like Instagram in general, like the whole thought and what I see people portraying and even like trying to duplicate is like this really always happy, good times all the time. And if I talk in this way, and it's even like the intonations in their voice when they're doing it.
What's up, guys?
Yeah.
Hey, a lot of you have been asking.
Yes, right? And I don't think that's all bad. I think, though, what happens is they're like, if I do this, I'll get this many followers, and then I'll feel this, and then this will be fulfilled. And I just hear all the time, like, okay, if I do this, I got this many likes. And then when they don't, it's like, I'm worthless. Like, it wasn't a good video, or I'm not this person or whatever. And so I think more of what I see that is like the problem is like, okay, now I have to ramp up my game. So
gotta grind.
I gotta ramp it up. I gotta do this more, or I gotta do this, and I'm gonna watch how this person does it. And it's like building this part of like working for something inside of themselves and just instead of producing something that's authentic. So I see a lot of that.
Lately, I've kind of been on this kick of video games, especially for young boys. And when I see it, I do think in my head, that is bad. And not video games, but the...
Is it a specific video game-ish?
Fortnite.
Oh, it's Fortnite. Oh,
Sorry,
okay.
guys.
I don't play Fortnite. Do you, Jeremiah? All right, you're good.
What about this guy?
What about the camera?
Just say.
No? All right.
Okay. I've just seen such predictably bad things come out of it. And I don't know the science behind it. Like, I don't know what it does to your brain and things like that. But there was even a time, it was a few years ago, where Fortnite was literally creating, increasing suicide ideation or attempts from teen boys. And
what was it about the game?
I think it's about, like, you can be the master of your own show. And also there's this marketing craziness that, like, you have to keep on coming back for the new update, and if you miss it, you're missing out on life. And it just pulls you in. And I've never played it, but from the kids that I've talked to, it's just very addicting. It becomes your life. And whenever families come in and they're like, I don't know what the problem is, I mean, it's just video games, but they're withdrawing and they don't want to do anything else, and they'll get angry if you take it away. Like, that's just been on my heart lately, is just, what is it about video games that is wrong, the way that they're creating them, that's really pulling a whole bunch of kids into a downward hole that will only be solved if you take away the drug, you know? I don't know why that's just really been on my heart, because it's just, I see these specifically 10, 11, 12, 13-year-old boys where it's just, that is bad. Not video games, but something about those video games and how parents sort of...
What it produces.
Yeah. And it starts out innocent. You know, all parents are like, well, I love video games. Mario Kart was my jam. You know, I want that. And it's way different now. So that just is on my heart.
I definitely noticed a switch for me. So I'm 35 in my generation when video games went from you're playing like against the game, the cartridge or the CD, to it being involved online. Because now other people are playing when you have to, like, go to dinner or you need to go to bed. Like, they're still going. So it kind of created, just from me noticing, like, a just constant feeling of being behind, being left out.
That's it.
They are, you know, they're progressing, they're moving to different levels, and I'm not.
Yeah.
Because when I played video games as a kid, like, when I turned it off, like, no one else was playing that game. It was just sitting there until I turned it back on. But now, if you turn off the game, like, everyone else is still playing. They're still there.
Yeah.
So you're missing out, and they're achieving, and you're not. Yeah, that's bad. Just to kind of close things out, you had mentioned that you'll see a lot of people, and they're like, I just don't know how to handle this feeling. I don't even know what the feeling is. And another thing that I had learned from therapy myself was my therapist Jackson said, Joe, you can't love yourself any more than you know yourself. And so as I began to expand my, like, emotional vocabulary and understanding, like, I can name the feeling that I'm feeling. I felt some, like, power over it. And I started to, like, love myself and who I was more, because I understood myself, which is totally different than our culture, which is just like, you're awesome, you're amazing, you're special, without challenging us to, like, know who we are. So I'm happy to be part of the work, and I admire you guys for what you're doing here with young people, helping them understand themselves so they can know themselves more. So thanks for hanging out with me today.
Yeah.
You're definitely the coolest therapist that I've hung out with.
Yeah.
We appreciate
probably.
Yeah. Jeremiah, thanks for grabbing the mic, man. Yeah, thanks for hopping in there. Man, how did Jeremiah get a job offer from this podcast?
He's good.
He's really good.
He's great.
Yes.
I guess we can give a little no, keep the music going, man. We could probably market you to therapists around America who are listening, and just in case they're in need of a DJ for their therapy sessions.
Yeah. Like a man of few words, but when you say something, it matters.
And the right music comes in.
Yeah, he knows timing.
He does.
Yeah.
You guys can, your students will sit down and be like, we're going to talk about social media. And here comes the song.
Jeremiah pops up.
Got it.
The kid lays down on the couch. They're like, I feel comfortable now.
Yeah.
Take off their shoes.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Great.
Love you, dog. Thank you, Zach. I'm pointing at you.
Yes.
Bring the camera over here. I see you there, Zach. You're the man. Thanks for spending time with us.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, wow, this is real life.
Oh, so good.
Wait. Can I take this off?
Yeah, you can take it off. Zach. Yeah. Are there any other like little shots that might be able to grab?